Hello, hello, hello. I want to make a video in regards to no to hunting. It is very important that people understand that when they hurt an animal or hunt an animal, that they create extremely negative energy for their own lives. And it always comes back at them, sometimes in a roundabout way, sometimes in direct karma. But it creates very bad vibrations, and the people who are hurting other beings, they're hurting themselves. That's also why they're doing this, okay? But as with any kind of reactiveness, like unmindful reactiveness, that can be anything from A to Z, on a very large spectrum, like infinitely large spectrum. Actually, it can be anything from snapping at someone verbally to retaliation to hurting another living being and hunting and any of these horrible things that people are doing. Islam is one really horrendous example for that, what I'm talking about. So there's a book called The Horse Boy by Rupert Isaacson. That's an amazing book. He also made a documentary film with the same subject of the book. So they made the book into a documentary film, because the book itself is the story is also a documentary of his son's journey with autism. And what I found very interesting was that he took his son to a shamanic meeting. There were shamans. I don't know. Someone told me this is a Native American word, but you know, I that's why I don't use the word anymore for myself. But he uses that word for African shamans who came to a meeting. They were from very high-minded souls, Africans from Africa who are highly sensitive, very attuned, and they are shamans. They are natural healers, like energy healers. And at this shamanic meeting, somewhere in the United States, it was, I think, with shamans from all around the globe, his son met those shamans from Africa. And they said immediately to him, they said, he's one of us. That's what they said about his son who had autism. And he was, I don't know, 5 years old or something at that time. And they immediately saw it, they saw the sensitivity. So during that retreat, he went into a sweat lodge with those African shamans. And they spoke very well English, and intelligent men and highly sensitive. And as they were in the sweat lodge, they shared some more information with him. And they said to him, if you want your son to heal and become balanced again, or for the first time in his life, then you have to stop this English fox hunt, because at that time Rupert Isaacson, he grew up with this, I guess, with this English fox hunt. And I remember my grandfather was involved with something like this. They called it Schnitzeljagd. But but in Germany, they were just they were it was like horseback outdoors, adventure type of thing, where they were just it was sort of they have made this into a symbolic thing. Originally, I think it was where they were actually hunting a fox. So in Germany, it had become something where it was just a symbolic thing. They were they went out onto this, or there was some kind of it was also some kind of competition. So the one who did all kinds of things on horseback got off the horse and fetched something and then went on to another obstacle, and in the end the one who was finished with all of these obstacles, he won this competition. So, and there was no animal involved. They weren't hunting an animal, so there was no live animal involved, and no fox, and hopefully no fox tail either. No animal furs or products. So I don't remember this exactly, but I think it was just some kind of like a physical horseback type of exercise, that they were doing competition. While in England, they were apparently still doing a fox hunt on horseback, and Rupert Isaacson was involved with this and was doing this on a regular basis. I think every year or so they had this big fox hunt where he was from some, I don't know, rural English area. And these shamans, they knew this. They knew that about him. I don't know whether he told him, or because he was very surprised when they said that. So he may not have told him about this. But they said to him, if you want your son to become balanced, then you cannot go on those fox hunts anymore. You cannot hurt another living being anymore. And so that stuck with him, that message, and also sounded true. So he knew it, he could feel it energetically, reflecting on it, thinking about it. It's like, oh, yes, you're right. He was starting to realize what they were doing there, even though it's an old tradition. What they were doing there was cruel, and it was causing an animal to be terrified and to run for his life. And it's absolutely unethical and wrong and cruel. It's coldness and it's brutality, it's violence. So he realized that, and he was glad he met with those shamans. And he stopped going on those fox hunts. And he was just riding the horse in the outdoors, but he did not participate in the fox hunts anymore. And that's really great. And so there was an awareness process happening in him. And most people are energetically not balanced. Okay, that's why there's a lot of unbalance happening in the world, worldwide. And if we look at it from a wider angle, we can see that most of these people are just not attuned. They are not informed. They don't even know how to manage language. I was just in a political chat room, and I see the vast majority, of like almost everyone in there, is the way they deal with anything is just by insulting, either insulting a politician, insulting each other. There's nothing productive that can come out of this. And a lot of misinformation, a lot of uninformation, anti-information. So so it is very, very important that people become aware, that people tune in, to life. And I have my papa dog here. Yes, sleeping in next to me. Yes, and he is my everything. So attunement, to life around us. That means I know what this other living being is feeling, is needing, the same as my body needs. So we're all the same in this way. We all need love. Plants grow better when they hear love. Loving words, it's true. Even the medium water forms different crystal formations when the water sits on a word like love. It's very interesting. Check into it. Dr. Masaru Emoto did that research. He's a Japanese researcher. Very, very interesting. Amazing. Amazing, eye-opening research. So, and this is real science, behind this. This is not speculation. He really observed this. So in I don't know, over many decades of studying, the first, I don't know, first 10 minutes of water freezing, the freezing stages of water forming crystals, and the crystals look very different. The crystals are very geometric when they're standing on a word, just a written word, like in the glass, standing on a written word that's on the paper underneath the glass, and versus, standing on a word that vibrates unbalanced. So the crystal that's formed then is not a geometric one. It's not balanced. So that's why people, they like diamonds so much, because the diamonds are formed in a very geometric molecular structure, so that this docks onto more and more and more, like a flower, sort of, more and more and more of the same type of the same geometric pattern. And so that's why people like it so much. So, but then when they excavate those, they do this out of unbalance. Okay, and that's very unethical. So I think it's very interesting what those shamans said about him going on those fox hunts, and that he immediately has to stop doing this. And in that same book, there's a number of those things that reveal themselves to the world. This is a book that is extremely powerful with its message, with its love. It's like it's a diamond on a platinum ring, you know. That's how powerful that message is, and that book is, and that documentary film is. So I just, reading the book, I was crying nonstop. I was so deeply touched and gripped by this, because I too had been a child like that. And my parents sent me to a therapist because of that. So those are the artists. Those are the ones that can see things between the sentences. Those are the ones, when they are children, they see an adult say something to them, and they can see the adult feeling the exact opposite. So, this is extremely frightening and extremely confusing for a sensitive child in particular. A child that's not that sensitive, that is more blocked off on the inside, just learns, okay, this is how I have to become because this is how the adults are. They don't question it. And then they adapt to this because to them this is the easier way to do it. They also wouldn't think of any other way to do it. So they don't question it. While the sensitive child is confronted with so much contradiction that they there's no other way around questioning it, at some point in their lives. So I think this is very important that I discuss this, that there's no way you can continue in any way hunting, trophy hunting, butchering, eating meat, any kind of harming or hurting another living being for whatever reason, whether it's commercial or whether it's out of total criminal insanity or religion, which is criminal insanity. So my recommendation to everyone out there is quit harming other living beings immediately. Do not harm another living being anymore. If you are frustrated, sit down and take the journey within yourself. Let go of others, let go of what others think of you. There are crazy people that will interpret things into an animal as well. And I've seen it, I've heard it all. And let go. I've seen a man who got mad at the Stellar Jays here. The Stellar Jays were chirping, and sometimes they chatter. They chatter a whole lot. And they happened to just be here on this balcony. We were feeding them at that time. The balcony is now falling apart, but at that time, several years ago. And that guy actually thought that they were making fun of him. I know this because I've heard this so many times already. And I know it because of his reactiveness towards the chattering of the birds. That he didn't say it, but I know that's why he got mad, because he thought they were laughing about him. And that's what happens to people when they don't become aware. Then they live a life where they are just reactive, they're they're vindictive, they take revenge, they commit retaliation, and their egos are constantly on the lookout and constantly rebuttaling, with others. So stop that right now. Completely. Let it completely go. Sit down. Let the kids, the animals, the birds. Some people think someone's talking about them on the radio or TV or some random video on YouTube of a person that doesn't even know them. And that goes into schizophrenia, It does. It goes, there's no increments. It just gradually fades into this. So let go of it. Schizophrenia, all it is, it's the ego that's inflamed. It's highly inflamed, like a serious wound. That's all it is. They call it. They make such a big, complicated fuss about it and have to give medication. No, that doesn't solve the problem. Okay, you sit down in meditation, and it doesn't matter how raw it feels. You sit down and you let the tears roll. And if there's no tears, which can be in the beginning, for some people they don't even have tears. I had a boyfriend, he was schizophrenic. He said he cannot even cry. He had to take artificial tears, as he called it, eye drops, because his eyes were kind of dried out because he didn't produce enough tears. And all of this, also, it's just a symptom. It's out of complete psychological unbalance, energetic unbalance. So you have to sit down, you let the other people be. Let them do whatever they want to do. Let your children play and let them be horsing around. Let them be silly. They're not laughing about you. It's not about you. It's about them being children, wanting to exist, wanting to live, wanting to grow and learn. The animals are not laughing about you. I've seen and heard this all. It's shocking how far this goes. The person on YouTube is not laughing about you. They don't even know you. So, or when someone is afraid of you, a person, an animal, a child, it's not about, it's not an attack on your personality. They are only protecting themselves. They sense that you're angry. They're afraid. They're afraid that you might snap or something. Dogs don't know that they did something wrong. If a dog shreds something, they don't understand this cognitively, that they shredded your tie or whatever, or your shoe. They don't understand that cognitively. I hear a lot of people, they interpret stuff into animals, and they will say things like, he knew. No, he did not know. He does not understand this. They do not know better. Okay? So for people that don't want their shoes to be shredded, then I highly recommend not to get a puppy or not to get any dog in the house. If they can't go for long hikes every day with the animal, dogs need exercise, or they need a real large garden. So where they can run and where they can smell other animals. They need that stimulation. It's not about the person. It's not about a schizophrenic person. It's not about anyone. Okay, it's about their lives they want to explore. It's not an attack on anyone's personality or character. Everything in our surroundings, every sentience is only reacting to that immediate situation. Oh, he's angry. I better be quiet, better not talk. That can traumatize children also. Children and animals can become very traumatized by that when someone is reactive and doesn't even want a needle or a pin to fall. And don't make needles or pins for. Keep that in safe places. But there are people, they don't even want you to eat an apple because that's already bothering them. So those people are out of alignment. They are unbalanced. I've heard all of this, and it's very disturbing, and it's very troubling for me to know that this is going on in the world. So that's why my message goes out there to those people. So it's not against you. Nothing is against you personally. Okay. If you are unbalanced, you are unbalanced. The first step is to recognize this, to recognize that you are unbalanced. And that's not a criticism. That's not some judgment or some measurement or whatever. It's just an observation. Okay, observe it for yourself. If you are unbalanced, sit down in meditation. No more reacting to anyone in any way, in any aggressive or frenzied way. But go into meditation and let the other beings be dogs and children or teenage girls. Let the other beings be where they are and who they are in their development, in their developmental stages of body and soul. Let them be, let them live, let them exist, give them beingness, give them space, wish them happiness, and go into yourself. And that means let go of others completely. Breathe, and if it feels raw, let it feel raw. And that's okay. That's good. And if tears come up, let them flow. There's no judgment connected to it. Man or woman, no judgment. Okay. So forget about all of that the social stigmatization and the role distribution, man, woman, this, like this, what you've heard your entire life, be a man or eat like a man. This is retarded. You have to drop that completely, and go into meditation and breathe and let other people be. Let others be. If someone is there who's also unaligned and they say something mean to you, let them be. Just walk away. Walk away and let it be. You deal with your own things, your own issues. There was a guy, my brother told me that. I'm shocked that my brother was friends with that person at all. That guy was a hunter in Germany, shooting deer. And he was sitting in one of those lookout towers in the forest. And at some point, he had like a large rifle or something pointed towards the deer. At some point, he turned that rifle around and he blew his brains out. To me, this is an inevitable escalation of the negative vibrations when someone is hurting other beings. For this person, he actually came to a point where he started to see the truth. And he couldn't stand it. He couldn't stand to continue existing with what he had done already. So some people get to that point at some point in their lives. But you don't have to hurt yourself or shoot yourself in order to understand that, to see the truth, and to understand that what you've been doing was wrong. I've talked to so many people. There are some men that I've met on the internet. One guy in particular said to me, an older guy, he said that he used to hunt. And at some point he realized that this was completely wrong. This was completely unethical, even though that's how he was drilled. Terence McKenna, also another person who was drilled into hunting, and his dad made him shoot one of those really, really large mooses. And when he was just 13 years old. And he felt bad about this. And then later on, he felt really bad about it. So Terence McKenna is a philosopher, very famous. He died. Also interesting how he died. He died from a brain tumor, which I have different theories why that happened, and I think it's all the theories combined that led up to that, also to this inevitable sequence, because he was taking substances that were ruining his brain and also living with this, being exposed to total truth, and truth is love, and then having to live with what he had done. I think that almost every human had done something bad, had hurt someone in some way, either verbally or physically, or neglected someone, or been selfish at some point and not seen the other being's needs, or animal or human. So I think almost everyone had been through something like this, and that's why it's important that we go into meditation gradually and not take substances that tear off the curtain from our eyes, in an instant, and we are flooded with infinite universal truths at once. That's a very harsh contrast, and a lot of people can't handle it at all. So they'll see this contrast, and then they see their past, and they see how they have had handled things, and then this feeling from childhood comes back up, because most of us had been scolded and compared, and then they will see, oh, this is how I had handled things, and I can never live with this for the rest of my life or something, because now I see. So let's go into meditation gradually, and gradually work through this, and before you go to bed, say I'm sorry to all the beings that you've hurt, whether you're hunter or butcher or working in the wool, the sheep industry, this is absolutely brutal what's happening there, or anywhere, or done things that are cruel out of religious belief. So become aware that this is all this is all not truth. This is all not love. Okay, this is all violence, and it cannot go on like this. Become aware gradually, and let go of this reacting or doing something to someone else in a negative way. So, including bad language. Let's watch how we talk. Let's watch which kind of vocabulary we use. It's very important. And cry and say I'm sorry. Do that every day, and cry your way through this, and then things will become better. They will become so much better, you have no idea. Okay, everything's gonna heal. So you guys take care. Bye bye.